Horror inside a local newsroom in the United States. A gunman opens fire, killing, injuring, and sparking a police response spanning several cities. Mass shootings in the United States have become all too common. But tonight, this targeted attack on journalists has put other American newsrooms on edge. We're following the latest developments.
And we're digging into the dangers journalists face. We speak with a Mexican reporter behind bars in the U.S., fearing for his life for what he uncovered. On this Thursday night, a troubling question: has the truth itself become a target? This is The National.
It is a rare month in the United States when a mass shooting doesn't shake a community or grab headlines. But tonight, it's different. The community shaken writes the headlines.
Myself and the medical director responding to the active shooter at 888 Bestgate with tag team.
Several shots have been fired. At least 10 shots heard.
A man armed with a shotgun fired into a newsroom in Annapolis, Maryland, offices of a local newspaper.
What I can tell you, what I can confirm is around 2:40, we were called to 888 Bestgate Road in Annapolis for a report of an active shooter.
Details trickled out by the hour. 5 people are dead. Police say the suspect used smoke bombs in his attack, and he's now in custody. According to the newspaper, police identified the suspect as Jared Ramos, a 38-year-old Maryland resident who pleaded guilty to a harassment charge in 2011 and allegedly had a long-running beef with the newspaper. But as Paul Hunter explains, while it's still far from clear why this happened, we've learned more about the how.
Yet again in this country, first responders race to the scene even as the event unfolds.
The person is still shooting.
Police dispatchers hearing from first responders who got inside within seconds, desperate to find the shooter.
Okay, so we got about 4 bodies inside. We still do not have the suspect. 10-4, suspect is still at large.
And yet again, those images of Americans led away from the scene of yet another mass shooting. This one at the offices of the Annapolis Capital Gazette newspaper in Maryland.
I saw a guy holding a gun. The door of the Capital Gazette had been blown to pieces. It was in shattered pieces all on the carpet. And this guy was holding what looked like a big shotgun and moving across the entrance of the Capital Gazette office, pointing the gun deeper into the office.
Gazette crime reporter Phil Davis tweeted, "There's nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload." Police say a white male with a ponytail, said to have been found cowering under a desk, was arrested with a long gun and smoke grenades nearby.
10-4, suspect in custody, correct? That is correct.
He was taken into custody by officers. There was no gunfire exchange between officers and the suspect.
Police later described it as a targeted attack on the newspaper, citing prior grievances by the suspect. They described him as having wandered about the first floor looking for victims. But because it was a newsroom at a time in this country when political rhetoric against journalists has heightened broadly, tonight in New York, a police presence outside the offices of the New York Times, just in case. Back in Annapolis, as investigators tried to learn more, those who work at the Capital Gazette did what they could to make sense of it themselves. They say they'll publish a paper tomorrow. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Now, it's important to note just how rare killings of journalists are in the United States, how unusual it is for a newsroom to be targeted like this. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, the 5 killed in today's attack alone will make 2018 the deadliest year in the U.S. for journalists since they started tracking the numbers at all. In fact, it's not far shy of the total number of journalists killed in the U.S. in the last quarter century, 7 since 1992. And Canada's Prime Minister tweeted about the shooting tonight, saying, "Journalists tell the stories of our communities, protect democracy, and often put their lives on the line just to do their jobs." Today's attack in Annapolis is devastating. Our hearts go out to all the victims and their families.
Here's a look at what else we're working on tonight on The National. For Emilio Gutierrez Soto, returning to Mexico would be certain death, but the U.S. has denied his asylum claim. We take you inside the detention center where he has been held for months.
Plus, a follow-up to our CBC News investigation into millions of missing prescription drugs. Tonight, the dangerous path addicts can take when pharmacies clamp down.
But first, this weekend, Canada will fire back against U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum. And CBC News has learned the Trudeau government will announce tomorrow an aid package for industries hardest hit in this trade dispute. Katie Simpson now on what we can expect.
Millions of Canadians will be on the water for the holiday-long weekend. But those who work in the boating industry will be far from relaxed. Retailers are about to find out if they're going to be caught in the middle of the Canada-U.S. trade fight.
The dealers are just frantic as lead up to July the 1st. In fact, we've been in full gear for the last 3 weeks trying to figure out how we're going to deal with this.
The price of an American-built boat may spike as of Sunday when Canada's retaliatory tariffs officially kick in. Tomorrow, the Foreign Affairs Minister will be in Hamilton, Ontario, known as Steeltown, to announce the finalized list of American goods that will be hit with the new duties. CBC News has learned some of the items on the preliminary list announced last month have been removed after industries lobbied the government, arguing the tariffs will do more harm than good. But a senior source cautioned not everyone is going to be happy. The announcement will also include details about a compensation package for companies and workers hurt by the dispute.
To me, there has to be a significant amount of money, and I wish I could put a dollar figure on it. The other thing, there has to be some assurances that workers will have access to the unemployment insurance.
Industry officials say the package is expected to include hundreds of millions of dollars in loan guarantees, plus expanded employment insurance benefits that can continue to be used for however long this standoff lasts.
So Katie Simpson joins us from Ottawa. Katie, we all understand a former prime minister is heading to Washington to meet with some senior Trump officials. What do we really know?
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper has meetings planned next week with Larry Kudlow, who is a senior Trump advisor who deals with economic issues, including NAFTA and trade. And he's also expected to meet with John Bolton, who is a national security advisor. Now, the current Prime Minister's office, Justin Trudeau's office, did not find out about this meeting until a strange phone call from the White House. Yesterday, the embassy, Canada's embassy in Washington, got a phone call, ring, ring, hello, it's the White House, and they wanted more details about the Prime Minister's visit next week. Well, that caught officials at the Canadian Embassy off guard, who called Ottawa to say, hey, are you guys coming to Washington next week? Why didn't you tell us? Prime Minister's office in Ottawa is like, we're not coming to Washington. What are you talking about? They go back to the White House. They meant former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. So this meeting seems to have caught the current Prime Minister's office a little off guard.
Okay, Katie Simpson in Ottawa. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
And this weekend, current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be skipping Canada Day festivities on Parliament Hill. Instead, he will be on the road, focusing on the looming trade war between Canada and the United States. He'll visit Leamington in southern Ontario, meeting workers who produce Made in Canada French's ketchup. Trudeau will also fly to Regina, meeting steelworkers hard hit by President Trump's tariffs. And provincial and territorial health ministers are in Winnipeg for 2 days of meetings. Tomorrow, they'll be joined by the federal health minister, and they've all got one thing on their minds.
What funding role will Ottawa be taking? That's the question. We want to provide more services. We understand what's at stake. We understand the needs. We also live on a daily basis the limitations that we have in our capacity to deliver those services.
Now, some of that money would combat opioid addictions. Yesterday, we brought you a CBC investigation about highly addictive drugs being stolen from pharmacies and the efforts to stop that from happening. But as health reporter Vic Adopia learned, those efforts could actually have dire consequences for drug users.
It's a daily tribute a mother wishes she didn't have to make.
It's something you say to yourself all the time, that this could be the last time you see them, but you don't really believe it. You really and truly don't believe it.
Her son Scott's opioid abuse began with a routine prescription for painkillers after having his wisdom teeth out. The medication ran out, so he turned to the street. As the grip of addiction tightened, he lost his partner, his home, and his plans to be a chef in Calgary. Then came his final attempt at treatment.
He was there for 3 months, successfully completed the program, and relapsed within 12 hours and was gone. And then he came back.
A suspected mix of heroin and fentanyl ended her son's life 2 years ago. Tantardini says Scott should have had access to a safe replacement for street drugs.
People who, never touched a drug before, who are addicted to opioids, and they're dying because they have to get their fix.
Deciphering the trends in opioid use and abuse in Canada is complex. As we found out, thefts and losses from pharmacies are going up, even though the total quantity of opioids being prescribed is declining. And at the same time, the number of people dying from opioid-related overdoses has hit an alarming high, suggesting the demand for hard drugs in Canada is unrelenting.
When that supply goes, you're left with a much less safer supply of illegal drugs.
British Columbia's former chief medical officer was at the forefront of the opioid crisis, which saw a surge in overdoses fueled by fentanyl.
Some of those people who've had their prescriptions cut back have moved to the streets, but to the degree that prescription opioids were being diverted to the streets, they've been replaced by much more dangerous and toxic illicit opioids.
Health Canada says it's tightening monitoring of pharmacies by auditing them regularly. In addition to doctors cutting back opioid prescribing, the government also wants to restrict the marketing of prescription painkillers. This pharmacist and researcher says the changes are only one part of the equation.
I think we have to have a multifaceted approach to try to address both the supply and the demand sides of this, and we're just trying to address the supply constantly because they're the easiest policies to in place.
Since Scott's death, Health Canada has loosened access to prescription heroin and methadone. Hard to say if that would have saved him.
It's like leaks in the Grand Canyon, and we're putting bubble gum in the holes and hoping it holds.
Sandy Tantardini has started a support group for other moms dealing with the same pain. She also honors her son's memory in other ways, such as this tree planted with some of his ashes and this tattoo. So Scott's always with her, just like the grief. Vic Adopia, CBC News, Toronto.
As Vic pointed out, the demand for drugs won't simply ease off with a clampdown on prescription opioids. Addiction doesn't care about policy change. In fact, clamping down on another opioid may have helped open the door for the fentanyl crisis in the first place. Back in 2012, Ontario led other Canadian provinces in pulling OxyContin from pharmacy shelves. It was replaced with a new version called Oxy Neo that was billed as tamper-resistant and harder to abuse. But look at the rise of fentanyl since that happened. In 2012, 217 street drug samples tested positive for fentanyl. Since then, the numbers have basically doubled each year. By 2017, more than 6,400 samples contained fentanyl. That pattern continues in 2018. And just look at how those figures overlap with these. In 2012, fentanyl was only detected in 4% of fatal drug overdoses in British Columbia, one of the hardest hit provinces. By 2015, it was almost a third. By last year, 84%. This year's early figures are tracking the same way.
It is a humanitarian crisis that's dividing an entire continent. Tonight in Europe, there are more signs that differences over migrants could tear apart the EU.
The biggest priority in this moment to protect our external border.
Today, leaders from 28 European countries gathered in Brussels for a two-day summit. Topping the agenda, what to do about all the asylum seekers still crossing the Mediterranean from North Africa, and how to control the migration of refugees already within the EU. An agreement to strengthen EU borders was about to be announced, but at the last minute, a news conference was cancelled because Italy's new populist prime minister refused to sign on since his demands weren't met. Trouble is, it's not just the EU's future at risk. As Margaret Evans reports, the migrant crisis could take down Germany's government as well.
Munich, the Bavarian capital, and a downpour worthy of the country's mood. And you can take your pick. Germany's spectacular tumble out of the World Cup in the early stages, or the political fortunes of Angela Merkel and the European Union. This morning, the German Chancellor appeared before the Bundestag in Berlin, saying immigration could be a make-or-break issue for the EU. Heckled by members of the far right and under pressure over immigration from within her own conservative faction, Merkel said she has no regrets over opening the door to refugees 3 years ago. In hindsight, she said, I still believe that was right. Bamberg, north of Munich, a World Heritage Site once home to the Enlightenment. The demonstrators out in support of asylum seekers say they're still trying to shine a light.
Right now we see a policy shift in Europe, and we deem it to be necessary.
Ricardo Schreck is a social worker who helps migrant kids in German schools with integration.
We can see actually that right now countries like Italy and Malta, they are trying to compete who cares less.
Italy's decision to refuse aid ships carrying rescued asylum seekers permission to dock is what's been driving the current crisis, putting pressure on its EU partners. Malta allowed one ship turned away by Italy to dock yesterday, but says it's a one-off. Unlike many in Germany, Schreck says his country should do more.
We have economic power and political powerhouse of the European Union.
But it is a power that's waned somewhat, along with that of the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, struggling to navigate some of the forces lined up against her. And so back to the gloom and a horizon that remains murky on two fronts, despite the gathering on migration in Brussels, or perhaps because of it.
That's why it is existential for the European Union, but it certainly is for the German Chancellor as well. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Munich.
Several other stories we're keeping a close watch on live on tonight's National, including the arrest of almost 600 protesters in Washington, D.C. A lot of people, most of them women, flooded the Senate office building on Capitol Hill to protest the president's so-called zero-tolerance stance on immigration. Many wrapped themselves in foil blankets, similar to those given to migrant children when they were separated from their families at the U.S. border. It took police about 90 minutes to clear everyone out. Also, a victory tonight for Muslim women in Quebec who wear the niqab. A law was supposed to kick in on Sunday that would require them to show their faces when accessing public services. But today, a Quebec judge suspended that new law until it can be heard in court because he says it appears to violate charter rights. And the Queen pulled out of a public event today because Buckingham Palace said she was feeling under the weather. The 92-year-old was set to attend a special service at St. Paul's Cathedral, but the Duke of Kent went in her place. The palace doesn't seem alarmed by any of it, though. It says the Queen is not seeing a doctor and will spend the weekend in Windsor as usual.
Still ahead on the National. No more teachers, no more books. You know how the rest of it goes. The joy over the end of school in most of the country is our moment of the day.
Plus, after an early exit in 2014, England's footy fans are cautiously optimistic during a World Cup that seems to be anybody's game.
And you'll meet a Mexican journalist who's been sitting in a U.S. detention center for months after a judge denied his asylum claim. Deportation would mean death, but the wait in prison is taking its toll.
Yo he pensado que es mejor enfrentar en un momento dado la muerte en México que seguir en este lugar en donde estamos viviendo la espera de la muerte todos los días.
The Prime Minister of Belgium arrived at the EU summit bearing gifts for his British counterpart. He gave Theresa May a Belgium soccer jersey, a cheeky nod to today's World Cup match between his country and England. But he did not go away empty-handed, getting a Three Lions shirt in exchange. Ultimately, Belgium prevailed, 1-0. But both teams have qualified for the knockout round. Now, English soccer fans rarely need an excuse to get excited about the game. But after the team's bright start in Russia, they are taking their passion to a new level. Thomas Daigle explains.
So far, this has been the most unusual of English summers, with uncharacteristically nice weather and unexpected optimism about the national soccer team.
There is a bit more belief this time round that we can win, and because we have been winning.
Football is coming home. It's coming home. We've got this in the bag.
Only the most hardcore supporters would have believed that just a couple of weeks ago. In international soccer, the English have become all too accustomed to disappointment. This time, England's young squad already has 2 wins at a World Cup it could have missed altogether by no fault of its own. The nerve agent attack targeting a former Russian spy in Salisbury poisoned relations between London and Moscow, leading to calls for England to boycott Russia's World Cup. And that's not the only issue.
People of different ethnicities and LGBT fans are still particularly vulnerable to targeted violence, and as we said, England fans generally.
Yet thousands of those supporters are making the trip, and there's a sudden surge in bookings, with the English apparently emboldened by their team's success.
Specialist tour operators selling packages to the World Cup have seen a pretty significant increase in interest from England fans wanting to head off to Russia.
In London, the jolt of pride is hard to miss, with the English flag specially flying next to the Union Jack above the Prime Minister's office. Then, across town, there's this neighborhood, and there's no guessing who they're cheering for.
Problem is, all the shops have not foreseen this coming, so there isn't actually any flags in stock for anyone to buy.
Even with a narrow loss to Belgium, there's no dampening spirits here.
It's coming home.
England is off to the next round, and that's better than last time. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, London.
So after 2 weeks, group play is done. 16 teams remain. Welcome to the 2018 World Cup of Surprises. Germany, the defending champion, is already out, and some of the other big teams are underperforming.
You know, there is only one story at this World Cup, and it is the demise of Germany, and that is of seismic proportions. There is no rhyme or reason why Germany has stumbled in this World Cup, other than to say they just weren't good enough. They looked flat. They didn't look inspired. They didn't look creative. They looked vulnerable, like a lot of other teams. But Germany doesn't make these mistakes. It always shows up at every World Cup, everyone except this one. Argentina, well, they've already used their get-out-of-jail-free card. They very nearly lost and almost didn't make it out of the group stage. We were that close to losing both the finalists from 2014 in the pool stages this time round. With Germany gone, this is now a wide-open World Cup, and I'm talking about teams like Belgium, talking about teams like Uruguay, perhaps France, and Russia. Well, they are the hosts, and they haven't played badly either. Everybody knows that they don't have the strongest team, but equally everybody knows that hosts usually overperform when they are staging the World Cup.
The round of 16 begins on Saturday, with the first game being Argentina versus France. The winner advances to the quarterfinals.
Next on the National, rotting in detention when deportation means death. Meet the Mexican journalist stuck in limbo because the United States says it's safe for him to go home.
You'll be fine in Mexico because there is a program to protect journalists. I mean, your face immediately just screwed up. What do you make of that?
If he fears to be here, and the only protection he has is this program of the government is like useless. There are a lot of examples of how this program have failed.
We care. That was the message from demonstrators outside the U.S. Justice Department today, calling for an end to the detention of migrant families at the U.S.-Mexico border. Family detention, family separation. A lot of the debate in recent weeks in the U.S. has been about how to treat asylum seekers, about who deserves asylum. There are any number of reasons to cross that border. For one asylum seeker, a Mexican journalist named Emilio Gutierrez Soto, it was the threat of death. The threat to journalists in Mexico is very real. Last year, according to Reporters Without Borders, it was the deadliest place in the world to report in, ahead of Syria and Iraq. That's not a fluke. Take the 3 most deadly places for journalists over the past 5 years, and it's those 2 Middle Eastern hotspots and Mexico. This year so far, it's number 2 behind Afghanistan. We sought out Gutierrez Soto to get his account of the struggle to avoid becoming one of those statistics.
Fighting his deportation from a U.S. detention center in El Paso, along with his son.
He sought asylum in the U.S. and was summarily
test
denied.
Case, a Mexican journalist has asked for asylum because he says the military has threatened to kill him.
All right, El Paso Processing Center, 15 minutes.
Head southwest on East Campbell Drive toward North St. Frame Street.
Okay, you're the boss. So about a decade ago, Emilio Gutierrez was writing about corruption in the Mexican military, and that's when he was hunted and threatened and attacked by the Mexican military. So it was around that time that he tried to seek asylum in the United States, and his case has been winding its way through the courts ever since. An American judge decided that Emilio should be deported. So Emilio and his son have been in detention here in El Paso since December, and we've been trying to get in. And the final word is that yes, we can, but we can only get audio, not video, which is what this is all about. There's so many questions to ask these two, including, how long do you think you can hang on? And what exactly is likely to happen if you do get sent back to Mexico? We'll see what we get. Hola, Oscar. I'm Adrian. You guys are gonna have Hola, Emilio. 1 hour. Yeah. 1 hour. Okay, thank you. My first question for either one of you, but mostly you, Emilio, is how are you?
Es una experiencia por demás desagradable, en donde las autoridades buscan destruir la autoestima. Yo he pensado que es mejor enfrentar en un momento dado la muerte en México que seguir en este lugar en donde estamos viviendo la espera de la muerte todos los días.
What's it like to hear your dad talk like this?
Well, it's very depressing, hearing him talking like that, because we're together, and if you lose, I lose, and so we're both in dangerous if we go back into Mexico.
What was the moment when you first knew in Mexico that you were in big trouble?
La agresión directa de un general en mi contra, después el allanamiento en mi casa, en nuestra casa, después de que vi cómo era vigilado por militares.
Oscar, the decision seemed to be that the judge wasn't sure your dad was a journalist, and then also said that the Mexican government has a program to protect him.
It doesn't work. It's the same government that does that program, so we're running away from the government. En México no hay protección para los periodistas. La opinión del juez al asegurar que en México podríamos lograr la protección es una locura. A mí me gustaría que pasara un fin de semana en Ciudad Juárez sin protección, para que se dé cuenta de la gravedad y de la irresponsabilidad con la que se condujo al negarnos el asilo.
The longer you stay in here, the longer your son has to stay in here. I mean, at some point, your fight might be hurting him.
Es algo que me llena de dolor, que todos los días lamento. Y espero que algún día me comprenda.
Hola, amigos. ¿Cómo está? ¿Dinero? $1. ¿Qué es su nombre?
Mío, Luis.
¿Luis? ¿Luis?
Ernesto.
¿Ernesto?
Ya.
So, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do?
Yo soldado. Yo americana.
¿Americana?
Como la migra.
Americano.
Sí, americano.
Not Mexican.
Yo quiero ser chino.
They're actually saying they want to be Americans?
Estamos pobres. Quiero ser chino. Estamos pobres.
Okay, we'll get on that. Okay, thank you so much. Yes. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. I have chosen to specialize in Mexican political asylum, and so what I basically do is try to give refuge to refugees.
As you know, we went in, we spoke with Emilio. This section is just a little bit where he's a bit expressive.
Yo he pensado que es mejor enfrentar en un momento dado la muerte en México que seguir en este lugar.
I'm wondering, anything surprise you about that?
It's traumatizing to be locked up when you've not committed a crime, because he is now being persecuted by the American government. This is outright persecution. You know, it's payback for him denouncing Mexico and denouncing the U.S., and there's no other reason why he shouldn't be released. Absolutely none.
I can imagine a number of Americans listening to this saying, A, don't care, B, so what that he's a journalist? What are they not getting?
What they're not getting is that the best and I think only hope for for democracy in Mexico is transparency and accountability. And the one institution that is in the best position to do that is the Mexican press.
But what does that have to do with them, though?
It keeps Mexicans at home. You want to keep Mexicans at home? Help Mexicans stay at home by being able to file complaints and deal with human rights abuses.
Well, and live and work without fear of being killed for it.
Exactly.
What happens to Emilio if he gets deported?
If he goes back home to Chihuahua, where he has his ancestral home, he's dead. They would kill him. He's just another troublemaker that needs to be taken care of.
So to figure out what it's really like for a journalist in Mexico, we're going to head into Juarez. So where we're heading is right to that red X. That's a sculpture right in the middle of Juarez.
Ciudad Juarez, one of the most violent
Several
cities
hundred
in the
people
world.
have been killed there since the beginning of the year.
Line people up against a wall and open fire.
Mexican authorities say new information has surfaced in connection with the deaths of 3 people.
The real problem in the police department right now is corruption.
There are a lot of murdered journalists in Mexico, and their cases go unsolved. So we're going to speak with one of the premier investigative journalists in Mexico. She works for a newspaper called El Diario de Juarez. So Sandra Rodriguez has spent years digging into what and who is behind the violence, and there's a price for that. She left Juarez for a few years after some specific threats, and just there, right by her desk, is a shrine to a fellow reporter killed in the storm of danger here.
Estamos viviendo la espera de la muerte.
He's broken by the detention center right here.
In the case of Emilio, the judge said, "You'll be fine in Mexico because there is a program to protect journalists." I mean, your face immediately just screwed up. What do you make of that?
If he fears to be here, and the only protection he has is this program of the government is like useless. There are a lot of examples of how this program have failed to other journalists, like very specific examples of people killed or threat, etc.
Well, isn't part of the problem, too, that if you're writing about the military and the government, which are so connected, and you're writing about corruption within the two of them, how can you trust those organizations to protect you?
That's the foundation of the fear that Mexico is, the population is living, because you don't trust authorities. That's the worst scenario, where the police or the people that's supposed to protect you is the people that is scaring you or threatening you, or because you don't know. In this environment, you don't know anything.
What does a threat in Mexico actually for you look like? What does that sound like?
It was something that I was kind of expecting, because I was like testing what can you do, what you cannot do. And I thought that this was particularly dangerous, and they said they sent a message. But I don't like to talk about it because, seriously, I don't like to talk about it.
So you stopped writing about that subject?
That is specific subject. They didn't want names in the stories, specific names. And we kind of knew it, and we did it, not just me. But that is not, seriously, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
HBH Chicago, final break off.
Esto es una llamada de y pagada por Emilio Gutiérrez Soto, El Paso Processing Center. Bueno.
Oscar, it's Adrian. How are you?
Really good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So do you know what the next stage is for you?
The last separators or something, or what's
Hola, Emilio. ¿Cómo está? It's Adrian.
Todo bien.
Are you able to let us know if something happens with your case?
Yo tengo ya sus teléfonos y yo inmediatamente les comunico.
Gracias, muchas gracias, Emilio.
Ok, muchas gracias.
So, Andrew, we tried to find some kind of clarity on Gutierrez Soto's fate from officials. We went to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration, the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, all said nope in terms of talking about his case specifically or do any sort of interviews with us.
So, Adrian, where does the case go next?
It's hard to say. You know, we know that a judge decided that really any evidence he had of the threat against him in Mexico wasn't up to snuff, that his fears aren't credible. And so, you know, they're agreeing to him having another hearing. It's probably scheduled for August, but like so much of this case, it's definitely not a sure thing. You can, by the way, find more pictures and more about Emilio's story on our Instagram page at CBC The National.
Welcome back. We are keeping a close watch on Annapolis, Maryland, where just moments ago, police released the names of the 5 people killed inside the Capitol Gazette newsroom.
first victim's name is Wendy Winters. Second victim is Rebecca Smith. Third victim is Robert Hyacin. Fourth victim is Gerald Fishman. And the fifth victim is John McNamara.
The Associated Press is reporting that all 5 people worked for the newspaper, 4 journalists, 1 sales assistant. Now, heavy machinery is part of the search for a youth soccer team believed to be trapped in a cave in northern Thailand. Workers are drilling holes in the side and the top of the mountain, trying to drain water and also trying to create another way out. Crews from the U.S. and the U.K. are also chipping in. The 12 boys and their coach have been missing since Saturday. And Ottawa is trying to make it easier to catch people who point lasers at airplanes. It's already a federal offense to do that, but it can be difficult to prosecute. So today, the government announced an outright ban on having a high-powered laser on you if you're out and about. It applies to people within 10 kilometers of an airport or heliport or anywhere within Greater Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. So if police see someone so much as holding a laser in a restricted zone, they can issue a fine up to $5,000 right there on the spot. Well, if you've ever been part of rush hour in an urban center, you've seen it. Cyclists and drivers at each other's throats. But a new poll suggests who gets blamed depends on who you ask. 70% of cyclists fault drivers, while 67% of drivers blame cyclists. Age turns out to be a factor, too. More than half of younger people, who are also more likely to be cyclists, blame drivers, while 3/4 of older Canadians blame cyclists. Surprise, surprise, right? It's always someone else's fault, but maybe hearing the other side out could go a long way in easing the animosity and improving commutes. So we took our red chair to Vancouver today to give cyclists and motorists their say.
Okay, you want to open it?
So the question is, who is more of a hazard on the roads?
Cyclists or drivers?
I'm mixed on this because cyclists don't always stop at stop signs. They don't always abide the rules of the road. But at the same time, drivers have to watch out for the cyclists, and they don't always stop at stop signs.
It definitely would be drivers. As a cyclist, I no longer ride my bike on a main street because it's just a danger zone. I mean, there's totally so many people that I've encountered as a pedestrian or cyclist walking across my light, doing what I'm supposed to do, and a driver interjects, and it's like an oopsie matter, like, oh, I didn't see you there.
I think cyclists are quite a hazard on the road. When you look at a four-way stop and you see a cyclist just burn right through without regard to the stop sign, it puts danger to just not only the pedestrians, but to cars and to everyone else.
That's tricky. I think it depends on the actual driver. I've seen hazardous people in both categories.
It's mainly a concern where the driver is actually going to impact and cause more damage to a cyclist than the other way around. Like, how much damage can a cyclist do to your car? So I would definitely say the driver.
No one answer. It's both.
Be safe out there.
Still ahead on the National, school is out for kids across the country, and that means the seemingly endless run of summer days has begun. We dropped by a few schools to see how they feel about it. Spoiler alert, the excitement factor is pretty high. And we'll also introduce you to one Edmonton elementary school principal who went above and beyond to keep a promise to his students. That is in our moment of the day. And remember, you can get a little bit of The National in your inbox earlier in the day. Every weekday, The National Today goes deep on several notable stories. It explores stories you might have missed. In today's newsletter, tracking a shocking new weapon of choice in crimes across the country, bear spray. Seriously. Subscribe at cbcnews.ca/The National. Well, it's official. School's out for kids across Canada, kicking off 2 months of fun and adventure. We visited a few schools across the country to gauge the excitement today, and their enthusiasm is hands down our moment of the day.
Awesome.
Kids across Toronto are understandably over the moon, even if some of them are still a little reluctant to leave the schoolyard. Go home already.
We're going to vacation.
Meanwhile, in Winnipeg, the students might be excited, but some teachers almost seem kind of sad.
It's also a little bit bittersweet because I'm going to be missing them very much as well.
But it is one elementary school in Edmonton that wins our Last Day of School prize. See, Principal Jason Dolezal made a deal with his students about a reading assignment this past year. We'll let him explain.
We ended up setting a large goal in the school to have a combined 40,000 nights of reading. And we, part of the incentive for the goal was to, if we reached that goal, I promised I would kiss a goat.
And when they came through, Dolezal was true to his word. He slapped on some ravishing red lipstick and planted a big one right on that gorgeous goat. The kids barely batted an eye. Just kidding, they went nuts.
Poor goat. That's what I have to say about that. So Adrian, I was digging into this, and apparently the goat wasn't the only animal there on the last day. Apparently the school had a whole petting zoo's worth of animals there, including a giant pig. So if you ask me, the principal got off lucky, because if the goat was sick or otherwise had an off day, you know who was subbing in, right?
Well, okay, I don't know how you'd know if the goat was sick, but I have no recall of farm animals involved in the last days of school. But what I do remember is that there is no finer moment than the last 10 seconds before the last bell of the year. And you know that paradise is around the corner. And I don't care how old you are, that moment never leaves you.
Sure
That
enough.
is The National for Thursday, June 28th. School is out. Good night.
Good night.